much. I'm very happy to give up any speaking time that I had to the previous speakers, because I think the things we've heard and learned and the support we've received today is of paramount importance. So Colin, cut me off whenever you like, mate. Last week we went back to the wee club, of course, after our month-long ban. We went back through the front doors. I was like a wing going back to school after the summer holidays, dragging my feet and whatnot. But of course it all happened back in June when we dared to defy the state, you know, when we dared to point out that the Scottish Parliament was indeed shielding the state and was trying to silence the reality that they were accommodating and pushing and making sure that people couldn't go and have their voices heard against the men of power when G8 were invited to Scotland. And of course we know that these men of power were sitting around a table planning to rape and pillage and plunder and privatise our world. It affects the entire planet, those activities. And we did what socialists do, what socialists must do. But of course the state did exactly what the state would do. It punished and it sanctioned and it attacked. But we never self-censored, and we won't self-censor, and we will not shut up, and we will not lose our socialist confidence. And here's why. Because in the last couple of weeks, of course, we've heard a great deal, and quite rightly so, about the Vukash family and their horrendous treatment. A treatment that, as comrades in this room know, is a daily event. Every day of every week, these events happen. Of course, we know how it runs. The dawn raid, the visit to the house by 9, 10, 16, God knows how many uniformed individuals, 20 minutes to pack your bag, mother and father in handcuffs, break up the family into 2 separate vans, and off to Dingavel they go. There's punishment, there's the state crushing as well. Well, you see, what's happened since then is a wee lesson has been fired across the bow of all asylum seekers, because a family from Drumchapel as well, at the same school as the Vukash, and in fact friends of the Vukash and supporters of the Vukash family, have now been weeked away in the same fashion, only this time from Brand Street in Glasgow. And this is something I want to talk about, because as people in this room will know, the press conference that took place the other day where parties across the spectrum and individuals gathered at the Scottish Parliament to talk about this very issue. Well, again, bear in mind that this is something that happens up and down the country every single day of the week and in other countries. That this brutal treatment is a disgrace. Well, Jack McConnell was so concerned all of a sudden, although I do have to say that when I raised the issue and other comrades raised the issue in Parliament, we were told over the last 2 years we were fabricating, we were lying, and we were exaggerating. But of course, the drumbeat has got louder. Asylum seekers living in our community with their children side by side, integrating and getting together, have bonded, have saw through the racism they're supposed to adopt. They have gone beyond that in a sophisticated and humane fashion. And it was the people who then, behind all of that support, got up and said no. So Jack McConnell crumbled in the media ground he had to. And he met with supporters of the Vukash family. And he gave a kind of promise by making that meeting take place. And of course, that family, we know, were sent to their fate, which we don't know. So they are now in a crowded situation, in Albania, in danger, and in great fear. And I was at the press conference when the wee girl from the Vukash family was asked, "Are you okay?" And she said, "Aye." You know, these things that happen. So McConnell gave that promise by virtue of agreeing to speak to the people. Then there was a press conference of all of the parties, and everybody said, "This is brutal. These dawn raids are absolutely appalling. We'll not have any of that, that's enough." Even one of the amazing, esteemed media correspondents at the Scottish Parliament said to me, "Oh, you know, Rosie, Jack does feel bad about it." He feels bad about it, eh? Well, let me tell you this. I have to say that so cynical and opportunistic are these people that if there was a different party in power at Westminster, Jack wouldn't only be feeling bad about it, he'd be leading a bloody march through Edinburgh about it, because he would take the opportunity when the opposition were in power, but the foot of Westminster on his neck, sealed the fate of these families, seals the fate of all of these families, and this is what we are charged with. And I have to, at this moment in time, pay tribute to people like Margaret Woods, to Mick Hare, and folk like that, who have made all this possible, where all these supports are falling in the shown the socialist way, shown the humane way of dealing with these barbaric and outrageous dawn raids. Well, you see, SNP and other parties said they too were outraged, but dawn raids are only part of the problem, are they not? Surely the problem is where these poor folk are getting sent back to, places they have fled, dangerous areas where their life's at threat, where they're oppressed, where they can't express their beliefs. This is the problem. You see, the dawn raid, as bad as it is, isn't the be-all and end-all, because if you do the raid at tea time, it's still the bloody raid. If you do the raid at school, it's still the bloody raid. McConnell is now saying that he will get teachers and social workers involved. Well, you can take me to a gas chamber in a limousine, it's still a gas chamber, and that's what he's doing. Scottish Parliament, Jack McConnell's away to Canada this week or next week. He needs to go to Canada because it's a fresh talent initiative. Because you see, we have a population and a skills deficit, and Jack wants to sort that out, but in a very particular way. Because Jack knows that in the future, when some of us here might need medical care, we might need healthcare, social work care, housing and education, there's going to be a bit of an economic time bomb ticking away. So Jack, no working on the grounds of humanity, working on the grounds of economics, is saying we need to bring people to the country. I know I don't need to point out the obvious here, but if you're dragging folk out in handcuffs in the middle of the night who have chosen to come to this great democracy, who are desperate to put input into this country and who seek to be part of the community here, is it not an utter contradiction in terms to get yourself out to Canada, and as Canadians who used to, perhaps, or their ancestors lived in this country, who went to Canada, were probably brutalised in the way the Irish were when they came here, to ask them to come back again and fill the bloody gap when the answer's 24 up in the Gorbals, Sighthill and other blocks of if you want to tie up the international question with the local question, the announcement this week that in Glasgow, and it's throughout Scotland, the announcement this week that 58 schools are under cuts and closure threat. Now, I'm sorry, I'm not the best accountant, but if you're telling me that you're filling the population gap and you'll get it sorted as quickly as possible, going to tell me where you're going to educate the Waynes if you're shutting the schools at the moment that needs to educate your successful population gap filling? Do you know what I mean? I might just be in the back benches of that place, but a pen and paper sorts that out for me, and I just can't understand the hypocrisy and the out of control behaviour. But maybe I can, maybe there's something else at play. Of course, the thing is, people can't move about the world freely, but capital and capitalism can go wherever the hell it bloody likes. And there's no point in capital and capitalism doing that if at the end of the day the people can run away from it. So therefore, you have to staple the folk to the ground, to let them be exploited in the way that only capitalism can do. And that is what we are charged with. And that is our future. And that is our fight. And the previous speakers have gave us various interpretations and examples of the global scale, the local scale, the worker scale, of all of that all put together. Now I'm going to finish because I never like to throw quotes around, but I have got a wee favourite, and Glasgow comrades will forgive me because I keep on saying it, and it was Gandhi that said, first they ignore us, well we know about that, and then they ridicule us, well we know about that, but then they fear us, and then we win. Well, their wrath might be huge, comrades, but our strength is greater and it's getting bigger. And the louder they shout and the louder they attack us, that's my socialist litmus test, and we're doing just fine, thanks.